So good afternoon, everyone. A very warm good afternoon to all the users. So while we still have about 2 minutes, let me just take about an opportunity to introduce in a quick, brief way our fellow co-panelists. We still have people joining in, so we will reintroduce them again. So we have with us Mr. Pranav Mahajan. He is the Managing Director of Masper and Mahajan Overseas. Thank you, Pranabji, for joining us today. They have a home furnishing business, manufacturing business, which is a completely integrated, backward and forward integrated business vertical, right from the yarn to weaving, processing, manufacturing, and retailing also. So it's a very, very unique vertical, and we're proud to have him here with us. Gagan, as most of you know, is you have seen him in majority of our sessions in the past also. He is he's a marketing consultant and has been in the space for over 20 years now, and has been on the training vertical from last 8 years. He's one of the top trainers in the country and is also joined us as the business head on the Sotex, and is also helping us to grow and build the Sotex Connect vertical.
Thank you so much, Sonil. And before I actually go ahead, talk about Sotex Connect, let me also welcome our second presenter for today, apart from Pranav, who has been there for some time now. Famida, welcome to our platform, and we are looking forward to have a meaningful interaction with you. With this, I'm going to be sharing my screen, and a quick 5 minutes before we actually get going straight away on the session, we would like to talk about, you are on a Sotex Connect event. Sotex Connect is a new initiative from Sotex, which is all about, as you can see, it's all about learning, engaging, and collaborating. Yes, that is what we intend to do, and we like to thank our annual partners who have sponsored our this entire Sotex Connect for so Vipul Fabrics, PCJS Group, Winning Mantra, as well as Upriver, who are our annual partners, and our annual gifting partner is VN International. We would like to thank you all for a continuous support for this initiative which we are doing for our community. And with this, I would like to briefly talk to you about what is actually Sotex Connect. You have actually started seeing Sotex Connect in the past 1 month or so, whereby we've already done 3 big events, and I will talk to you more about what it is. Sotex Connect is actually our initiative which helps the textile community get more opportunities to connect, train, interact, collaborate, and co-create. We already have our community of more than 10,000 people on Sotex, and we want that each one of them get more such value around it. And under this, what is our idea under this? We want to give more value to our partners apart from what they're already doing, as Sonil mentioned about on buying and supplying side. Then we want to keep them up to date with the latest industry trends. That is one big thing which we want to do, number 2. Number 3, we also are making sure that you get inspired by industry leaders. We want to bring people who are pioneers in their domains. And today we have 2 such pioneers who are talking about something very, very interesting. And then we talk about upskilling your business. So apart from your needs related to your business, technology which is going to go up, which has to happen, we may also require upskilling in various parts of our business, whether it is sales, marketing, HR, and all these factors. So we will also be looking at how we can upskill you into various aspects of industry as well as of your business. And of course, we're going to make sure that whatever trainings and whatever sessions we do here, we will make sure that you learn from the best. That is what is our endeavor. Now, what do we do at Sotex Connect? We do a series of networking events. We do knowledge series. Next week, we have a knowledge series session. So any of our sessions will be under one of these particular verticals. Then we do tech innovation sessions. Today is a part of the tech innovation session whereby we are talking about sustainable textiles. Then we do fireside chats. Last week, we had a fireside chat and very interesting topic where we have a lot of very esteemed panelists who were there. Then we have business and personal upskilling trainings, which we do from best of the trainers around. The total idea, the ultimate idea is that we help you learn, engage, and collaborate. And what kind of people you can expect to have here when you come to this particular platform, especially when you come to a networking event where you actually get to talk to each other live. Now, you will see that you will have brands, buying agents, and retail chains coming here. You will have garment and home furnishing manufacturers who actually are here. We have fabric, trim, and machinery manufacturers. And along with that, we have a great network on allied services working for the textile industry. So this is the community which you actually find here in any of these events. And today also, we already have so many people in the room. You will see a lot of these people from all the community, right? And under this community, what kind of people we are talking about? We're talking about large companies, medium companies, to smaller companies, to business owners, to sourcing heads, to sales heads, to decision makers, to merchants, as well as designers. You find a one-stop shop for all of us, right? Ultimate aim is that we bring you all together, and by bringing you all together, we make sure that we all learn together, and then together we are going to create more opportunities for each one of us. I've said it again, it's all about learning, engaging, and collaborating. All what you need to do is that you need to mark your calendar for SOTEX Connect. And SOTEX Connect calendar is very, very easy to remember. It's very simple. Every Thursday at 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., we will have an event. Yes, we've had these events forever now. And now you see, we are going to have it. I'm going to just tell you what are we planning next week. And on this Thursday, every Thursday when you see this event, something or the other from all of these will be coming in. Like today, we have something from Tech Innovation. Last time we had a fireside chat. Next week, we are also going to have something, right? The 22nd April, we have a Tech Innovation session, which is today. 29th April, a knowledge series. And 6th May, we are planning a networking event whereby live meetings with buyers, with suppliers. Last networking event we had 90 plus business opportunities which got created on the platform itself within buyers and suppliers and various other allied services which came together. Now, next week, under the knowledge series, we are bringing in a senior consultant on labor laws, and we will be talking about manage your workforce better by knowledge of precise labor laws during pandemic. We are, as business owners, we are facing a lot of challenges. So what are your rights as a business owner? What do you need to do? What you cannot do? All of that you get to know next week, 29th of April on 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Please mark your calendar for that. But that is time for the next week. Today, we have an interesting session coming up. And today's session is all about how sustainable textiles can be a game changer in your 2021 strategy. And as you see, people on the screen, we already have all the panelists on our screen. And at this point, I will request you to please, all of you, if you can switch on your cameras. Yes, there you go. Our esteemed panelists are in there. And I would like to first welcome you all, Pranab, Famida, as well as Sonal. Sonal, I want to just start talking about, and I will straight away get to the point with regards to topic for today. And, first of all, today is actually a World Earth Day, and what better day it could be to talk about sustainability, right? And that is why we chose this topic. Now, sustainability has actually become the need, frankly, in the modern times, rather than being an advantage, right? And we see that more and more companies are getting aware about shifting to sustainable methods. Many of them have jumped onto the bandwagon, and they are seeing a difference already. Now, this is very interesting, the way they've started seeing the difference. And today we'll be talking about with two of our panelists about that. But many of us are, now just aware of it, but still wondering how to go about it. Should I not? What should I do? So there is a bit of a dilemma in people's mind there. And there are still a lot of us who are on conventional methods and are yet to understand that, are there any benefits of this? So we at Sotex are on a constant endeavor to bring these topics, to our community, which helps them evolve better and get them closer to the current times. And this is one primary reason that we chose today's topic, and that is how sustainable fabrics, sustainable textiles can be a game changer in your 2021 growth strategy. And to talk about that, we have an esteemed panel. We have with us Mr. Pranab Mahajan, Ms. Fahmida Chaudhary, and Mr. Sonil Jain. Let's start today's session by getting to know a bit more about each of the panelists. I will take a quick minute to introduce you all, and then we straight away get on to the rapid fire. Isn't it a rapid fire? Okay, we'll see if it is a rapid fire or a comfortable question. So let me first introduce Pranab. Pranab is the director of Masper and Mahajan Overseas. He's an experienced director with a demonstrated history of working in the export and retail industry, right? Highly skilled in export, production, retail management, textile industry, and business development. He is a graduate in textile management from the University of Leeds. Their company is 100% compliant and sustainable factory, holding to Eco Factory status from M&S UK, IGBC Silver Green Certificate, GRS Certificate, and GOTS Certificate. Yes, people in the industry who know about this understand that how difficult is this to get these certificates, and it is just amazing. So welcome, Pranab, to the session today. And before I actually go to Fahmida, I want to ask you a quick question, right? Masper has, over a period of time, become a renowned name in the industry. Now, a quick one, if you want to talk about that, how have you made your company unique with regards to the sustainable textiles?
See, today everybody is talking about sustainability, whether it's India or overseas. Mm-hmm. And we all have a responsibility to give back to the earth and the environment in today's time. So in terms of sustainability, a lot of what is sustainability is basically reduce, reuse and recycle. Yeah. So there's, for example, I give you an example of a PET yarn, which is being the major part of sustainability, which all the textile people are using. Yeah. To actually make 1 kilo of PET yarn, you use about 1,000 bottles of water bottles, which you consume. So you can understand where that plastic is going. So basically, in terms of sustainability, it's not only to do with the material, it's to do with the processes. Yeah. It's to basically, I define it as a 4M method. It's to do with the man, the method, the machine, and the material. So it's a combination of the entire 4 scenarios which could create the sustainability model.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we'll get to know more about it in just a while. And before that, I would like to introduce Ms. Fahmida Chaudhary. She's the founder and CEO at Bamboology Trends and Femi Fashions, an innovator, executor, and nature enthusiast with over 18 plus years of experience in fashion retail. She's an ex-category head, women wear at Canterbury Retail and Ritu Wears. The vision of her company, Bamboology, is to create a global impact to reduce hazards created by fashion industry. Very interesting. Bamboologytrends.com has initiated a mission to provide sustainable fashion by focusing on bamboo clothing. Isn't that amazing? So, Fahmida, welcome to our event today. Welcome to the session. And I would like to ask you one question before we go on to the bigger questions. Tell me, why did you choose bamboo as a product, as a base?
So there could be there could be multiple options available in the market in terms of sustainable. The major international brands you will see who are serving as a sustainable brand, working majorly on a linen fabric. But out of linen, out of hemp, out of organic cotton, we choose to bamboo because of its personal benefit of antibacterial, anti-odor, UV rays protector, thermal control, its ultra soft feel, and it helps a lot to the nature. It requires 0 pesticide. It requires 70% less water than cotton. It absorbs 5 times more carbon dioxide. It releases 35% more oxygen and grows 5 times faster than any other tree. So that is the reason we choose bamboo.
Wonderful. Amazing. Amazing. Isn't that right at the start, at the growth stage, you are being sustainable for that matter? That's amazing. Thank you so much for talking about this. And of course, not to forget the man behind who likes to be, I know a lot behind the scenes, a lot of action at the back end. The founder of Sotex, Sonil Jain, a dear friend. I've known Sonil for many, many years, and he has been a dear friend. And frankly, with the way I've seen, Sotex being one of the most leading, fastest growing companies in this domain, I see the way Sotex is providing super value to the community. And I know in the just past 1 year, less than 1 year, Sotex has actually doubled the number of businesses on its platform, which shows the kind of value you are able to create for the textile industry. And with this special initiative of Sotex Connect, it is going even a notch above in helping the community even more. So welcome, Sonil. Any opening remarks before we get to the questions?
No, thank you so much, Gagan, for a wonderful interaction for all the panelists. And I just want to, put on to only one thing, that it's very important for us to understand what is going on in the supply chain, where the gaps are, and what can be fixed. One of the small areas that I am now getting into is design for environment. So this is a small initiative also which I'm working on. This is something wherein the awareness, and through these kind of interaction and engagements, we want to bring this awareness to the society at large, so that we can contribute and make a difference to the future generations coming in. Super. Over to you, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonil. As much I've been connected with Sotex over the past couple of months, I've seen it's growing on me more, and I see the kind of value we are creating, and I being on board now am even more and more for it, for that matter. So let's get to our questions straight away, and I would request in the seeing the time bit, we are at 5:20 approximately. We have approximately about 40 minutes to discuss the 5 or 6 questions which we will be having. So it'll be great. One question I would request all of you should answer. Should you give your perspective about it? And an ideal 2 to 3 minutes to a question is good enough, so that we can go with the whole plan. So with this, I would like to ask the lady in the room the first question, and that is, why should we use sustainable textiles? What are your thoughts about it, Famida?
The sustainable textile is needed for the survival. So if sustainability will not be there, we are have very limited resources in terms of water. We don't have even 2.4% drinkable water or usable water. That particular water is used for all agriculture, industrialization, and other. So the first motive of being sustainable is to use that particular resource in a justified way. So there we have to choose and go for a sustainable fibers which consumes less water. That is the first thing. Another thing, why sustainable? Apart from what all basically availability of textile fibers are there. The first is cotton. The second is polyester. The cotton requires, one t-shirt requires 500 grams of pesticides. So just to make a normal one t-shirt, 500 gram pesticides are required. Apart from that, if we talk about polyester is a chemical product. It's basically a petroleum product, which is the first polluter of the earth, the biggest polluter of the earth. So that is something which is not at all sustainable. And the need of using polyester fiber is, we have limited dedicated agricultural land where we have a limitation to grow cotton. Then we look for the substitution as the demand is increasing in the industry. That is the reason the share of the polyesters keep on increasing. And it has reached to the level of more than 65% of the total industry. So to reduce that particular share, the whole process of making polyester is all chemical based, and it creates a lot of water pollution and other soil pollution. So somewhere, what are the sustainable options to replace them? That is where we thought of bamboo, which grows very fast. So there, it is something, a normal tree takes maybe 20 years to grow, but this particular bamboo tree takes hardly 3 to 4 years to mature. And apart from the linen and the hemp are very sustainable options. The banana silk is also one of the very sustainable options. The jute is sustainable option, and people are doing more R&D on a soya and other things. In fact, to make a sustainable leather, the cactus farming has been used. So a lot of work is happening to not to spoil the soil with pesticides or with fertilizers, which change the productivity of a soil and reduce the air pollution and water pollution, going sustainable method of not only growing the yarn or making a yarn or a fiber, but to dyeing process and other processes. So that is the reason, like OECO-Tech certification or GOAT certification has been assigned to those mills which creates zero waste or which creates zero pollution, or sustainable processes to make the textiles ethical.
Thank you so much, Amina, for these opening remarks. I would like to come to Pranav now. Pranav, you have been doing this for quite some time now. Why should we actually go for sustainable textiles? What are your views on that?
See, again, most of the points Fatima has already said. It is to do a lot with environment. This actually in India has now become very common, but it has been going on across the globe for a couple of years now. The reason we hold a M&S eco-friendly certificate is that we've actually built a huge factory based on the sustainability model. It is a green factory. The reason we did it is, and how it was done was to turn out sustainable textiles is purely to do with environment savings. In terms of savings, it can to do with the environment. It is not only just controlling the pollution levels and stuff, but also the energy levels. So what you generally do is, if I run a factory, generally the biggest operation cost is your electricity. Whereas we are running a big plant where our electricity bill is very controlled because of the way the construction of the building is done. So it's to do all the sustainable textiles are to do with the environment, saving the environment, pollution controls, using of materials that use less of natural resources, basically limited uses of resources where you can actually mix and combine or blend the products where the environment can be saved. So the entire basis is the environment, and there are different branches that are associated with the environment and how you control it. So depending upon different fibers mentioned, so depending upon a polyester, if you look at polyester, it uses a lot of natural resources like oil, petroleum and stuff, which are again limited. So when you are using a reusable or recycled polyester, for example, like PET, you are saving on all those natural resources, hence sustainable textiles. Also, whenever you do blends of cotton and stuff, now a lot of recycled polyester is being incorporated into cotton. So again, cotton being a natural resource and being limited, there is a huge saving when you blend it with a recycled polyester, again tend to do with sustainability. So the entire sustainability story is still very undiscovered and very in the initial stages, where people are still getting the facts and figures correct and still learning about it. Though people talk about GOTS, GRS and stuff, but the real story is yet to be learned.
Absolutely, absolutely. You are right.
That's where we're coming in.
Absolutely, we have a long way to go in this, and yes, it is just the start. But yes, we have to make our efforts. So Sonil, I would come to you about this. Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
In my view, I mean, there is one side which both Famita and Pranav has just covered out. But the other side of sustainability is also the fact that how do you recycle the resources, what you have taken up from the earth? Because unless you recycle these resources, it's like you're taking up the resources, but you're not putting it back in the right manner back to for the decomposition. And if the decomposition is not happening properly, like the case we have it with the natural fibers, there is a lot of resources employed back, but in kept it in a way that it cannot be recycled back. Also, the other area is the fact that if there is something which you're almost taking out, but not putting it back for the next generation to reuse, maybe after 2 generations, 3 generations, we don't know how far it's going to go. But then this is like you're extracting too much, but not, replenishing it. So this is one area that is, I believe, as a part of the life cycle of a product line, we all have to see sustainability as a major gateway, and we have to see this as a breakthrough which we need to achieve in years to come.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So good. Now I see the the moment we're talking about why sustainability, I could actually see some thoughts about my second question, frankly. And these questions, my second question is actually around creativity. Now that we are talking about sustainable textile, and this time I would like to come to Pranav first. How do you really infuse creativity in sustainable manufacturing? Now, this is something which is critical. So how do you really do that?
See, it's a very interesting question. And again, I call it more of a creative question. So in terms of creativity, the creativity for sustainable textile doesn't come to the product per se, but it is based on the entire process. So you have to be creative in terms of the process. Yeah. You have to be creative in terms of the material. You have to be creative in how the human is actually using that material and the method in which that material is being used. Like I mentioned in my initial question, the 4 M's.
Yes.
So in terms of, for example, I am talking about PET yarns. When we talk about, I take it back to a product where in the Indian scenario, we are used to using cotton bed covers. Why do people use cotton bed covers? They use cotton bed covers because of the softness. They are easily washable. They are easy to dry. They are easy to iron. Basically, ease to use is the product what they use in terms of cotton and where cotton is associated with it. But nowadays, the PET product is also being processed in terms of the sort of technologies that are being used with minimalistic use of chemicals. Again, that minimalistic use of chemicals is to do with the sustainability of it and using a recycled product, that you create the finish and in the processing stage of the product in polyester to create it look like a cotton product. That's where the entire creativity comes in. Also, creativity also comes in with the actual acceptance of the product in the market. You can create the best product, but if it is not accepted, what's the purpose of it? So the end use and the end consumer has to accept the product, and you have to actually keep a apple to apple comparison when you're changing a 100% cotton product with a sustainable reusable polyester product with a blend of it, how the properties meet and how the feel, the look, everything matches to actually replace that product. So the creativity is a very, very important product. It's a small word, but it's a huge, huge impact on the product itself.
Absolutely.
And the process.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, Pranav. And I am already floored about the topic and the product what you spoke about, the bamboo famida. Tell me more about how do you really infuse creativity in the special manufacturing in this case?
So yes, to make it more, in terms of sustainable and, creative, as like Pranav explained, that a lot of R&D has to be done in terms of the uses and minimal, wastage of energy, electricity, manpower. We have tried to find out the resources nearby us. So resources from fiber to fabric mill to dyeing mill to manufacturing resources to and the supply chain and everything. So that is that is the way, like rather than asking fabric from Tirupur and I'm sitting in Noida. So it's better to be more sustainable, to find the resources nearby, to cut down the lead time or a turnaround time. Apart from that, to be more sustainable, we are trying to work on a circular economy, where we are collaborating with the communities. Post use of our garment, that will be again converted into the fiber for the filling of soft toys or sanitary napkins, and it will be upcycled and donated to NGOs. So that is a way how to reuse that particular resources. Any viscose fabric, which is a cellulose fabric, could be immediately either could be reformed into the cellulose and further into the fiber stage. So there could be multiple ways which we are in collaboration with the Birla and other group of communities to make it, reusable in terms of upcycle and recycle it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Pamida. Sonil, you are representing the community, and you are seeing this, I know, every day. What are your thoughts on this?
So, as a community, I would say the sustainability comes from a very different angle altogether. In one way, it is how you cut down on your processes to make your product look more innovative and yet acceptable to the customers at large. So being more minimalistic in terms of the processes, in terms of what all value additions are going on. So that is more in terms of the product and the manufacturing side. But as a platform, what we see is sustainability can also mean, reusing the products which are not going into the production at masses. So I see a lot of factories in the supply chain, whether they are manufacturing fabrics, trims, accessories, or products which are either going out of fashion fast or being left out due to the cancellation of shipments or due to the wrong supplies. So as part of our small initiative, we've got on the platform, we've got a vertical wherein we are just helping the users liquidate those stocks within the community again. Also reaching out to the customers and buyers across different regions and geographies where, for one side, the suppliers, the challenge is how to liquidate its stock, because this is a product which has already been created, right? And if it has not been in use, it's not been put up into the use, it is anyway going to get either, destroyed, or it goes to, stays in the warehouses for a longer time. So rather than putting it there, we want to take it out to the masses, and we want to see if there can be a value which can be created out of it, and that product can be put into the use for a different set of buyers altogether. So that's just our small way of making sustainability or the reusage of unsold products, making it more in the limelight for the users at large.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now let me just
here I would like to add on, like in future, to be more sustainable, people has to opt just-in-time strategy, where the production has to be done as per the need. So probably a minimal quantity could be produced, and if the style and design is in demand, then just-in-time production could be happen.
Absolutely.
To make it, don't have to just to cut down those dead inventories, which usually happened, varies from 20 to 10% with the retail organizations, and they post 3-4 years they have no solution, rather than just dumping into or giving it to NGOs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
I would like to add here that where it's coming to sustainable product, we've just finished doing a sustainable product where the quantities were huge, and getting the raw material was a big problem for us. So the infrastructure has to be also built around both extremes, whether it's to do with smaller quantities or whether it's to do with huge, humongous quantities.
Yes.
So the balance is still not developed in the industry, which needs to be worked on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we will come back to it in a while when we talk about, the supply chain part of it, which you very rightly pointed out, which also has a big role to play, whether the product eventually is going to be sustainable or not, right? Because if you have a bigger carbon footprint and all those things happening, then you cannot make a product which is sustainable for that matter, right? So good. Now I was actually, Pranab, I will start this question, the next question with you. I was actually seeing the kind of certifications you already have achieved. For all the community, what should the manufacturers do to get the certifications around the sustainable manufacturing? What are your thoughts on that?
See, there are two types of manufacturers in the country. One who just want to get the certification for the sake of having a certification, and who actually genuinely work for getting the certification. So I count myself in the second one, because that's the culture that goes in the company from top to bottom. So to give you an example of the green building we hold in Sonipat, it actually took us a year to actually plan whether we will go for a green building or not, because building a green building is actually about 33 to 35% more expensive than building a normal building.
Yeah.
Why? The process to do the building is from the day you start digging in the ground, you cannot let even 1 gram of soil move out of the building. So for example, when the trucks used to come in with the material, you would have to wash the tires of the material trucks before they left the site so that they don't carry dirt out of it. So we have an entire study, and we did the topography study, then we did the entire process study. So if somebody would like to come and see it, we'll show you the entire journey of the green building. So even if the taps we have used in the washroom are about 15 to 20% more expensive, because we have controlled the flow rate of water.
Okay.
Because every time an individual goes to the toilet to use the water, the flow rate has to be controlled. About the amount of water wasted is again then recycled. So we have a different drainage. It's going away from the topic a little bit, but then again, building a sustainable building, like the question says, you have to actually control in each and every process. So we have 2 different lines of water going on. The water from the taps and wash sinks and all go to a different tank where they are recycled, reused, and used for irrigation, whereas the wastewater goes into the waste line. Again, we have a naturally cool building, so our temperature during peak summers is around 8 to 10 degrees difference depending upon the flow from outside. We actually monitor that and keep that on record. So it's a naturally cool building. We don't use air conditions. We bring in the air from one side and suck it out from the other side. That way we cool the building naturally through a water body. So that's one of the process in terms of the building. But when it comes to the certification part of it, now to actually have the certification processes, you have to have your process defined at each and every stage, right from the part, the raw material coming into the factory, where it will be kept, the demarcation of the area, how that will be issued, the records, basically the whole synergy of the traceability has to be accounted for in order to actually get the certificate enrolled and get the credits for it. So the entire process and the training, which is very important for the humans to actually understand and buy into the process, is very important to get the certification. So that's where my take is, that do it genuinely, do it the right way. Just don't get the certificate for the sake of having a certificate.
Very, very valid point. And kudos to you, the way you've just explained about your processes and the way you've created it. It's just amazing. So I would like to now come to Fahmida. Fahmida, what would you like to talk about? You've of course recently also started a new company around bamboo as well, and you've been into the industry for quite some time. What are your views about the certifications?
I don't have much to talk about on this topic, but I'm sure the agencies used to visit and they evaluate their processes, and then only those certification has been given. Yes, sometimes like the factories are not compliant, but still they have set a certificate. But it do happen. It do happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Sonal,
I want to actually, before I answer to this question, and I would rather come back to Pranab ji again. Putting the certification is like just the first integral part, of being a compliant. And I know a lot goes in while building up and getting the certifications in place and get the validations done. So in terms of getting this and then making the business model viable, and also, meeting up the buyers' timelines. So these are some things which are very, very unique to a company which is doing all things together. How do you manage all such things together?
I will answer it in one line. It takes 49 hours of planning and 1 hour of execution. So basically, it is a lot to do with the hard work in terms of planning. Like I mentioned to you, we did a program where I didn't know where the raw material would come in from, but I accepted the order, and it was a 60-day timeline. I give a kudos to my team who worked day and night to in fact get those things in. They actually went up and set the processes up in the raw material suppliers factory. So how to monitor it, our hourly production, the supply, what is going to be leaving every day, what will be the logistics to it, how that will come, how that will be distributed in just in time. So it's a lot to do with planning and a lot to do with planning at each and every step minutely. It's like micro planning each step to actually achieve what you want to do. So in terms of timelines, in terms of getting it right, again, it comes down to management rules of planning.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Gagan, as I see this, in terms of the certification, it plays a vital role. When you go out, especially when you go for any international fair, or we tend to interact with so many international buyers. The first thing they want to know about is, are the vendors compliant to supply to international standards?
Yes.
Because even though I've been part of the industry for many years now, but when it comes to the certifications, we always shy away and we feel that this is something which can be done depending upon the buyer's need. But it is always the reverse side. If the buyers in today's world, they feel that you are compliant enough to handle their business as to the international standards. And the only way for them to understand whether you can handle the business or not is through a certification. So the certification becomes the first benchmark where a third party has come, done an audit for your company, seen the processes, made sure that you have come and hold those processes, whether it is in terms of your installed infrastructure, whether it is in terms of your teams, or it is in terms of your procurement of the raw material, or how you put your finishing and dyeing processes in place. Unless these things are not in place, the foreign buyers especially do not look India as one area where they can see there is a trust factor coming in. Of course, it's not something which has been eradicated across in the other countries also. But when I see at the global front and I talk to our peer group in Bangladesh and Vietnam, they're much more fast in adapting to this particular need of the buyer.
I'll interrupt you here.
Yeah.
The only disadvantage India has, the RACI factor is very low. The resistance to change in India is very low. And India mein wo hai na, chalta hai attitude is what is pushing us back. Where you remove these two things from a system and the processes are well defined, certifications automatically come to you. I'll give you an example. We hold an ISO 50001 certification as well, which is to do completely with the environment management systems. And when I wanted to do this system, my team was willingly wanting to do this, because then that way they have been able to define the process, which actually minimalizes a lot of, actually eliminates a lot of processes and reduces their work process. And in terms, you save towards the environment and the energy. So that's where I'm saying the our resistance to change factor is very important to get these processes in place. And this is the biggest disadvantage India has, where the buyers actually look at us, कि यार ये कर पाएंगे या ये नहीं कर पाएंगे. That's that attitude comes in here.
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt you in the middle, but
a very strong point here is that how do you enroll your mid-level team to get into a level where they want to service that kind of a business? So the mid-level team plays a very important role, because I'm sure with as entrepreneurs, as a business owners, everybody wants to have the best of the practices in their business. But the challenge is how to define the mindset of the mid-level teams. And that is where this real struggle comes in. As you rightly said,
you have to have them buy into it. You cannot impose a system. It is the people, the team, every level of management has to actually buy into the system to actually run. It's like an ERP. आप लाके ERP लगा दो and लोगों को नहीं चलाना होगा तो ERP will be a failure. But you have to buy and show them the way, show the advantages to them, how it will benefit them, how it will improve their efficiency. That's where the ERP works. So same way the process, if you show them the process, how it will smoothen up their life, that's where the entire process can be set up and bought in by the people of the team.
Absolutely. Totally agree with this.
Here I will like to add on that delegation of authority and making them believe then they can do it, make them managers. So it's better to make managers rather than, employees, or try to make them, confident enough to lead the operation, whatever responsibilities has been given. That confidence of, senior management always give them antho to perform. So that is there. I mean, never try to do everything on your own. Most of the time, the bosses try to, approve each and every action, sign on each and every process, and then they fail because they don't have much of the time. Rather than planning and strategizing the thing, they are held up into the transactional things. So they have to come out from the transactional thing, delegate the authorities, and make your management team self-sufficient enough to take the decision in their absence also, especially in their core areas where they can find their expertise.
Absolutely. So moving forward on the topic, what we've said, and we've actually just now spoken about the willingness to change within the teams. That's great. And Pranab also touched a very important topic about the back end, the supply chain for that matter, where you mentioned that you literally went into your supplier's workspace to get the things done, right? And my next question is also actually about the same topic. How much, like, if you are willing as a company that I want to do that, I want to change and I want to make a difference. Right now, if we talk about India, how much our entire supply chain is prepared to take that step forward?
Today, in today's environment, a lot of people are understanding the need to be friendly with the environment, and a lot of manufacturers in terms of the supply chain, whether it's to do with the yarn, whether it's to do with the fabrics. See, there are again two parts of the supply chain, the organized part and the unorganized part.
Yes.
But I am comparing both. The organized are already doing it because they have international exposure. They are supply chain to international customers as well. Whereas the unorganized ones, which are purely to do with the domestic supplies to the Indian market, they do also understand the need of sustainability, environment friendly, carbon credits and carbon footprints and stuff, where there is a demand that is coming in. It's all to do with the demand and supply. Since the manufacturers are demanding the product, the suppliers are gearing up their infrastructure, their processes to actually build up at it. It's basically a win-win situation for both. Yes. The industry needs it. They are preparing themselves to actually produce it for the industry. Yeah. They are, during the interim, they are learning how to develop new products. Again, innovation comes with the requirement. So they are actually, again, we did go back to the question of creativity. Yes. So innovation comes with creativity. So it's a hand in glove situation for both the suppliers as well as the requirement. So yes, the industry is geared up. People are wanting to change. People are wanting to move towards sustainable product. It's the question of the price coming in again, and the question of the certification and the traceability. Traceability is the key to take away, because that is where the entire road is built upon. The foundation is the traceability.
All right, wonderful. Famida, what about you? You have been, what is your view about the supply chain? How much have you seen that the industry is prepared right in the back end to really geared up to sustainability and use of sustainable textiles?
So in India, the awareness is not much, and so the demand is not much. Only export clients, a certain export client, if they see the data, so out of almost 3 million organized or unorganized sector, it's a 3 trillion sector, it hardly, we can say 40 billion is a sustainable textile, which is in the demand internationally. So this demand is increasing. The way the demand will increase, automatically people will change their mindset. They will upgrade themselves. So it's all related to the more awareness will be there. The COVID has created the high level of awareness that why we are not what is the future, what we are doing with ourselves and the planet. So that's there. This word sustainability and the demand of eco-friendly or organic things is really creating a buzz in the market. So I'm sure a lot of new queries are coming with the small players. They want to start something. They want to start something in a sustainable manner for the sustainable lifestyle. And the bigger brands are collapsing just because of their unethical practices and all that, and their control is not there on a market. Their control is not there in the buying process. Their projection as the huge business is there. So their control over the projection doesn't if perform. So the losses are so big. So here, a lot of new names, new brands, new people, the experienced people from the industries have served 18, 20 years, are now really looking forward to do something for their own satisfaction and for the planet. So I'm sure in the coming years, we will see a lot of trend of, sustainable, lot of brands and a better future with the positive.
Thank you so much.
mindset.
Sonal, I would like to come to you about this, and would like to ask you about this change and the acceptability of supply chain to actually adapt to this particular change.
So I would just take an extension to what Pranav has just mentioned out on one fact that there is a complete awareness which is coming into play, and that is all been driven by the customer demand. So if the international buyers are asking, or the new age brands within India are asking for the sustainable textiles, same goes with the manufacturer, and it then flows down to the supply chain. And as it flows down, as the demands increases, and the buyers and the manufacturers are asking about it again and again, that's where the suppliers and the manufacturing community are forced to look into this particular area. But the adoption is very, very slow. I still believe there is a lot to do at this particular area. What is also important is the fact that how do we look at the impact of the waste management. So one is not just the creation of a product, but what is the impact of the waste? Because every creation has a second, downline, which is the waste, which is coming out of it. So what is important is as part of the supply chain, if we are able to figure out a way to manage that waste or recycle that waste, there is a lot of opportunities in terms of innovation, in terms of the product usage, and in terms of building up that visibility. Because today, if your company is having those certificates, it's important to make those visible on your website, visible on social media. Tell customers about it that you have, you have those kind of you have those kind of capabilities that you can deliver to them at a larger scale. Because that is something which people are always looking out for, and they find it hard to believe it. So as a small initiative, what we also do under Sotex is we encourage all our users to share with us their certifications, whether it is GOT certification, OEKO-TEX certifications, BIS certification, any kind of certifications that they possess, because that adds up to their credibility. And when the people are searching with them, searching for them, the first search is available on the internet. And when you are searching on the internet, a host of things open up. The only thing is when you want to segment and be more connected to your focus set of buyers and suppliers, you need to come to something which is much more informative and is able to give you the right information which is available. So my take on this is, while the supply chain is gearing up, the importance is to make yourself more visible and share your credentials at large with your buyers as well as the community.
Absolutely, it does make a very big difference. And yes, before I actually go on to our last question for today, we are right on time, by the way. And I would like to request all of you who are listening to us, in case you have any questions, please could put your questions in the Q&A box, whereby we can then take these questions very, very soon. In the next 5 minutes, we should be starting to take these questions. And now I would actually shift the gears from the vendors to within the teams to supply chain to actually towards the customers. Now, what I would like to talk about is that now that we know that there is an acceptability coming in, right? And I would like to ask you both about your companies. How have you, after achieving these certifications, have been able to reposition yourself, innovatively with regards to various product lines in front of the customers, which probably has helped you stand out of the competition? How this whole sustainability matrix has benefited you moving forward with regards to standing out of competition?
For us, the customer matrix we work with, they are well aware of the sustainability in terms of the textiles, their requirements. The sustainability is the topic across the globe right now, and It's a product with a sustainable tag is like something people would like to buy in. More of the youngsters in the age group of about, say, 18 to 24 years of age group would like to buy product that is made of sustainable textiles. So it's more of, I may call it more of a fashion shift into the sustainable model. So in terms of working with retailers across the globe, they would like to have product with a sustainable tag or a GRS tag or a label on top of GOT certified or OEKO-TEX certified. It is a selling point for them. Also, internationally, it's more accepted where people understand this topic more or are more aware of it and are actually willing to buy into or pay more for a product. So where we hold these certificates and where we are able to offer this variety of product, which is sustainable in terms of the product lines, it's widely acceptable by our customer base, and they give us a preference compared to a non-sustainable product.
Wonderful. That's so wonderful. Yes, it's definitely starting to make the difference in the kind of visibility. Fahmida, I would like to ask you, how is this different product, different offering, sustainability is giving you an advantage over your competitors?
I've started working on sustainability in just, you can say, it's hardly like I left the job, Canterville, as a category head in March. In April, we thought of what do next, which will satisfy us rather than like we are just serving to the industry. Like I will give you one example. We were making more than 65,000 of t-shirts in Canterville, where more than 60% of the product was, the cotton was blended with polyester. So once even more than 5% polyester is blended with cotton, that become unbiodegradable. So we never thought of such things can really damage the earth. So it really pushed us to think about what we are doing with our planet. So that is the reason we start exploring, working on those sustainable options, studying sustainable available options. So we try to work with linen, where we see the price range. Oh, it's so expensive, 340 rupees a meter of pure linen. Then we try to explore, we can say hemp, that was 440 rupees a meter. Then we thought of how we can serve to the masses. Somewhere we have to make the product available for the masses. That is the reason we moved to the bamboo, which is costing hardly 160 or 70 rupees a meter, which masses can accept it. So there, post start working on this thing, exploring it, writing blogs or being active on LinkedIn or sharing the thoughts and all that. It helped me out to get a lot of small buyers who are really, who was working previously on organic cotton. They want to move on bamboo this time and more sustainable options. So there, I mean, it has really helped me out to fetch a lot of new clients, international clients. Somehow in India, it will still take to get the awareness. The retail segment is down, and people are really conscious about spending money right now post COVID, because we started our business in a COVID duration. So that is something which will take some more time to get up the market in terms of Indian sustainable market. But yes, internationally, we are getting a great response. We have got multiple good clients.
Wonderful. Good to hear that. Absolutely wonderful to hear that. Sonal, I would now like to come on to you. As talking about making a difference, talking about generating more business opportunities, talking about more lead generation. And we know that SOTEX is now becoming one of the fastest lead generation platforms with more than 10,000 members globally. What is the community doing? What kind of responses you are getting when people get these certifications or start thinking about sustainable ways of manufacturing? Do you think that these people are getting an edge over their competitors because of that?
See, Gagan, I would say right now, industry is becoming very, very conscious about the sustainability. Nowadays, we get inquiries from overseas, we get inquiries from within India, from the large corporates, that they are looking out for manufacturers who are sustainable, who possess those right certifications to supply the product lines. Because India now is becoming a global hub for many manufacturing global giants. So, most of them, they are looking out, the moment they are looking out for the corporate branding, for the uniforms, they are coming out with such kind of, demand. And we find it really hard to find the right factories on this particular area. However, being a large community, a lot of opportunities like this do exist from overseas markets, especially from Bangladesh and Vietnam, where they are able to cater to a large, big numbers. But when it comes to India, we find it a little hard. But yes, the community do exist, and we do appreciate and we do ask for the members to please come forward and share their infrastructure and details with us. And that's how we can make a difference to a community at large by bridging this gap of demand and supply. As a platform, we feel that there is enormous growth opportunities which exist, especially in this current times. And with the pandemic, coming to the peak points at this point, and even if when things start slowing down or deciding back, or business starts catching up, the only thing is people would still like to go digital. They would still like to interact and engage and find out, discover people on the internet before even start making an actual purchases. And nobody's going to make a big purchase in the first go. They all start from small. They will start floating small inquiries to test the market, to test the vendors, how they're able to perform, how they're able to deliver on time. And based on that, the business will start flowing in. We had a good opportunity of getting, international buyers, especially from Australia, Japan. They had posted a lot of inquiries in the first cycle when the pandemic started. But the only thing was that time we were in a limited set of buyers, but we grew the immunity. We understand within our teams also as to what is the right matrix that we need to define at the back end, how to make sure that we do the right matchmaking of the buyers and suppliers. And that's what we are working on at this point of time.
Wonderful, wonderful, great. So now that we've come to the end of the questions which I had in my kitty, I would, before we actually close, I would definitely like to take few questions, and then we will have, of course, a formal thank you to each one of you. And at this point, to all our community, I would request you to please put in your questions into the Q&A box, and I will start asking some questions. The first one is from Mr. Sudhir Grover, is to you, Fahmida. It's about bamboo. And it says, what properties bamboo fiber t-shirts will have as compared to other common materials, regular like cotton and P/C? And how much percentage cost difference and viability of bamboo fiber in India? I heard it is widely imported from India.
Basically, I will start with the properties. The properties between cotton and bamboo is any bacteria on the cotton multiplies into 550 times within 24 hours. While on bamboo, it reduces by 99.9%. We have tested it from international lab testing report, Intertech, and it has shown 99.9% reduction of bacteria within 24 hours. So that is the major difference between cotton and polyester. So if you talk about other benefit, it is ultra soft. It is apart from anti-odor, UV rays protector. It is thermal control. It keeps you super dry and cool. So those are the personal benefits for an individual. And for the planet, we have already discussed that how the trees consumes more than 5 times carbon dioxide, releases 35% more oxygen, and then it doesn't require any pesticides. It requires 70% less water than compared to cotton. And apart from that, it doesn't require it replenished its own. It doesn't require every time people have to cultivate it. That doesn't require the cultivation. So there it is completely sustainable. Yes, the prices vary from cotton to bamboo from 35 to 40% because of multiple reasons. The first is the fiber cost is 35% more expensive, and the processes like sustainable processes and other things add on the cost. If you are paying good wages to the labor, ethically made with the certified units, and the cost simultaneously increases by 5 to 6%.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing this. Now, I would like to ask another question. A couple of questions which have came in early, and I think the question related to price and the acceptability have already been answered, Mr. Sudhir Grover, so I'm not going to really take that question. However, there is one question. What it said is many people seem to use sustainability concept as using recycled polyester into blending of cotton with recycled polyester. Is that happening? And people seem to be using as a thing to sustainability. And how do we? The question is that how do we really identify that by testing and field to ensure that the right product policy as demanded by the international buyers? Any views? Any comments on that, Pranav?
Basically, what is a sustainable product or a sustainable certified product is depending upon the blend of this recycled material you are using into the product. For example, if you're doing a cotton throw and you're using recycled cotton, there is a certain percentage of recycled cotton that goes into the mixing with the 100% virgin cotton to actually get you the certification of a sustainable product or a global recycled certificate on that product, GRS certification. So there are percentages are different percent. You can do 100% recycled product. You can do a blend of the products. Mixing purely PET yarn with cotton does not make it a sustainable product. You have to get the entire traceability of the recycling of each and every process and the traceability and where that's how it's blended into it to make it a recycled product.
All right.
Am I able to answer the question that was asked? Or
should be able. Yes, I think yes. Sonil, would you like to talk, or Pamida, would you like?
Somewhere I will like to request people to stop using those plastic bottles at all. So any product of polyester which is made by polyester during the washing releases microorganisms, the plastic microfibers, which goes into the sea and all that, and it kills a lot of fishes and really disturb those sea life, marine life. So somewhere we should say no to the plastic. We should move to sustainable option. A lot of bamboo bottles, apart from hemp material bottles and other options are has been explored in the market, and UK and French are going to ban completely these plastic bottles. Some rules and regulation has to be there in India to completely ban them or make them reusable. So I mean that plastic bottle should be big no.
All right, okay, great. So now this is a question which starts from bamboo but goes a little ahead. It says, what are the product options possible with bamboo fiber as per your study, other than textile apparel and other than textile, since you have been talking on bamboo, if you know that, and are there any other similar economical fibers upcoming in process? This question probably Pranav may also answer if you think that there is something which is upcoming as a new fiber. Just a thought putting, but first I would request Pamida to answer this question.
So for me, bamboo is something which can serve all your needs. You talk about the homes are made out of bamboo. You talk about the furniture that is made out of bamboo. You talk about the bottles and other things could be made out of bamboo. Bamboo shoots is the high oxygen content food. So it serves your all requirement from textile to home to furniture to building material. The hemp and bamboo is used on a other way around also in a building material to like rather than only it could be made in a brick form also and as an insulator and could be made in a modern form of a home also. So now the bamboo oil has been created, and Mr. Nitin Gadkari has done a 3 days full meeting on how to make the bamboo economy as the biggest economy, as India is the second biggest producer of bamboo after China. So they did 3 days full panel meeting only just to discuss what all best options we can do this bamboo to make a biggest economy, and we can export what all could be possible. So the petroleum oil alternative, bio oil has been created out of bamboo. So more researchers are going on to make it more, mass, usable and all that.
All right, wonderful. Any thoughts on new fabrics which are upcoming in the process? If you have, because you are aware about the industry, some new innovations coming in the fabrics.
See, we did a program for bamboo sheets in our stores, but the product turns out to be very expensive as of now. So a lot of innovation and is required in that area. Like Padma said, it's about 35% more expensive raw material. Plus the processing and all is also far more expensive than normal cotton and stuff. So yes, I do see a lot of uses coming in, but as of now, in terms of our textile part of it, the made up side of it, the cost factor plays an important role. And with this COVID situation, increasing the cost in any of the areas is a big no. So that's where I give it on it. But I do see it coming up and more research and development. We've not done much of it, but I do, with her experience and purely playing with bamboo, she would be a better judge to explain the whole process which she's done.
All right. Okay. Wonderful. You mentioned about the costs, and there is one question from Ashwani Arora on the costs. So the question is, and rather first an observation and then a question. Actually, recycled PET products is expensive, about 12 to 15% higher than the virgin products. And how can we really make it viable in terms of the ROI to match compared to the regular poly? Now, there is no government support, and fight is practically ours when we have to do this, right? So we have no choice. This is actually rather an observation that we have no choice but to sell at cost most of the times to run the factory. We still want to have a major support to decrease soil exploitation. Any thoughts on this, this observation?
This is a question and a fight we follow every day with our buyers when they talk about recycled product or a BCI certified cotton at the same price, which is like 10 to 15% higher.
Yeah.
So still it's an untapped area, and it's a very, very, very difficult to convince our customers in the international markets, because in India right now, like I said, it's still not very acceptable, or it's on the initial stage of acceptability. So I think people would have to work hand in glove with the supply chain and the industry to how to see that we get sustainable products at, say, probably a 3 or 4, 5% premium maximum, which is acceptable to the customer as well. 10 to 15% is actually not acceptable. And so he's correct that we sometimes supply product at cost also to just retain the business.
True. Very, very difficult there. Fahmida, any views around this?
I would like to add to this, Gagan, and I see this as one of the major challenges in the complete supply chain, right? On one side, the buyers are always asking for something which is unique and has to be backed up by the certifications. With the expectation is always high to supply the high-end product. When it comes to the cost, nobody wants to pay for it. But at the same time, I would say this is a fight which is worth fighting for a long time. And this is something where you go back to your supply chain, keep telling them about your need and keep asking them as to what your requirements are. And this is like more like, rather than, it is more of a collaboration which has to come in together. And that's where we also, as part of the platform, we do this kind of initiative of having this first level of engagement and interactions where people start to understand that this is where the future goes in, that is where the future lies. And that's how the world is shifting to. It is maybe the India shift is slightly slower, but when it comes to international bodies, and especially when again I see, as a platform, we see Bangladesh, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, they're first and faster to adopt to these challenges. Of course, I would say at one point of time, price is a secondary issue. And I'm sure Pranabji and Sudhir and other people will also agree to this. Most of the times it is the first is whether you're capable of supplying it or not. If this capability is established, the price will eventually match, even if you don't get the price comparison in the first order, the second order. The buyers globally understand that there is a cost pressure always on the manufacturer and even on the other side, on the buyer side also, because they have to actually sell the product. So this is something where you go back to your suppliers, see where you can cut down on your processes, see where you can cut down on your energy side, see how you can design your product in such a manner that your inputs in the product can be minimized. And this is some of the best international studies which are going on. And even most of the institutes are now coming to a level where they incorporate things like 2D, 3D, where they cut down on the research and development and see what all are the possibilities that we need doing it. And that's what we are also doing it with the supply chain. We go back to them, we tell them this is what is required. see, there are certain times where you can have to pick up the stock products, what is readily available, even the frames, if there are coming out from the same side of thing with the sustainable tags or with the God tags, people do accept that. And when you offer such things to the buyers also understand, and they appreciate it. It is just how you approach and how you convince your buyer. And I would say this is something, a struggle which is worth to learn, and a skill worth to adopt.
Wonderful. All right. So Sonal, as I see that we are coming to the top of the hour, I would just see if you can see any question, one last question you think can be answered. If you see any of the question which is there, and otherwise we will. We are already at 6:20 now, so I think.
Okay, let me just take a quick 2-3 questions which I think are important, and I would expect the panelists to please keep it short and crisp. Ashwini Arora has put in the question, like a GOTS certificate, organic GOTS certificate becomes difficult for people to manipulate. The same way, can the GRS be awarded to deserving people, or it can be kept awarded to any trader or multiplayer? I would ask Pranabji to please respond to this.
Currently, GRS and all was available to traders as well, but now I think the control union has put strict policies, and I think they're re-looking at certificates that have been issued. So I think there will be a change. And even though traders are getting the certificates, it's lined up with the mill they buy the product from. So I think the process is being streamlined.
Thanks. Sudhir Groverji has put in question, my recommendation for Sotex is identify good factories in your network, verify certification and give them rating for your customers to pick and choose the right ones based on the setups, and your rating grade will help the buyers community as a whole. Yes, Sudhirji, your point is well taken. So as part of our sixth, the third vertical, the third version of Sotex tools that we are building on the app, we are putting this very soon. You would be seeing a rating system being activated, and the community can interact with the right set of vendors and suppliers, so that you can find out a distinction. You can create a distinction based on the rating as the reviews coming in from the fellow buyers based on their previous engagement. So this is this step very well been taken, and we would be coming out with this very shortly. Another question from Mr. Ashok Chaturvedi. Discussions is happening in the large industries. Can anybody enlighten us for the MSME? This will help us understand right from the core and awareness. What literatures to be incorporated from the government to be worked out and asked for? Ashokji, I would say these are some of the strategic discussions which are happening again and again at the large formats, and we have been constantly discussing it at the government bodies also. The literature is available. You go to MSME website and you can find out literature which is there, and you can go through it. But the only thing is, everybody wants to see the summary of what can be done and what not. So I would say, talk to the consultants. They are the best reference source. So they can give you a crystallized form of so many government policy and initiatives that government has rolled out. But to give it the right thing, what will work for you, what will not work for you, please reach out to your consultant, and they would be the right people to help you out. And in case if there are anything specific, please reach out to us also, and we'll connect you to the right people. Yeah.
All right. Wonderful. And any last questions?
One last more question.
Yes.
This is, again, most of the questions are coming from Sudhir. Okay, let me take it from Srinivasan here. So we filmmakers apparel, uniform boutique to run uniform stores from all types, like hospital. I think it is more of a...
It's an observation, but not a question. I've seen that.
I kind of, was just going through all of them.
Yes, I think we have kind of answered a lot of questions today. And yes, with this, we probably can.
There is one more important question by an anonymous attendee. This is for Famida. Activewear consists of spandex, lycra for stretchability, and they are not sustainable. what are the alternatives you're using for activewear? That's a valid question.
Yeah, it's a valid question, and we are working on it. In future, we are trying to not to use spandex, because spandex doesn't biodegrade. The whole material got biodegrade, and that particular spandex doesn't biodegrade. Knit itself is very stretchable, and very limited product need this particular elastane. So it's better use a very limited elastane in a limited product line, which could be upcycled rather than a recycle. So we are trying to work out in this area not to use elastane as much as possible. So we are working on it to find out much more better solutions into it. The R&D is going on. So most of our product doesn't have much of the elastane, but yes, some of the product which needs running or those kind of a thing, the higher level of expansion and contraction, that requires elastane, but some alternative has to be done. And that work will come up soon. That R&D will come up soon.
All right. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So with this, we now come to the end. And before I actually close the session, first of all, I would like to thank all the people who have been here asking all of these questions. I would like to thank our sponsors who have actually made this particular event possible. Our sponsors, Vipul Fabrics, PCJS Group, Winning Mantra, and Upriver, and of course, VN International. Thank you so much for helping us with this particular initiative. And I would like to thank all our panelists for being here today, for getting engaged into a very, very meaningful conversation on this World Earth's Day and talking about sustainability. I would like to have from all three of you some last words, your closing remarks on the topic today. It'll be great if we can start with you, Pranab. We go to Fahmida and then to Sonal.
Save the environment for a better tomorrow for your children.
All right, good. And I'm so happy to see what kind of an amazing work you are doing. Really, really wonderful, Pranab. Thank you so much. Fahmida,
Thank you.
What are your last comments for today?
Whosoever cannot contribute much of the sustainability can contribute by simply sourcing a sustainable product. So we all can contribute somewhere to make this movement successful.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And really impressed with the way you have turned a product from bamboo and the way you are doing some innovations there. Really, really wonderful. Thank you. And Sonal, last comments for the session today.
No, my just sincere request to all the members who are present in this session today, just understand, just contribute to the life cycle of the fashion industry. Wherever you are, in whichever area you contribute, whether it is in the fashion buying or manufacturing or supplying, just see wherever you can cut down on the resources, you can minimize the impact of input, and see where the natural fibers can be used at most. So that would be the best thing that you can do it, and come back, use your raw materials well. And also, in case if you can recycle or share your materials which are not in use. So that's where we can support this ecosystem in a much better way and make the sustainability an important mark and lead from the front in protecting the future.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to each one of you. Thank you so much, Fahmida. Thank you, Pranab. And thank you so much, Sonal, for being here today with us and enriching people with more knowledge on sustainable textiles. Thank you.